I would like to call the July meeting to order. And with that, we need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
No opposed. Okay. Let's see. Motion to accept the minutes of the June 22nd, 2019 board meeting and the July
2020, that's a
13th.
mistake.
Sorry.
2020, that was me.
Oh, yeah, 2020. Yep. Okay. I'll read it again. Motion to accept the minutes of the June 22nd, 2020 board meeting and the July 13th, 2020 special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any comments from the board? Negative. Excellent. Okay. Financial reports. Do we have that tonight, Tom?
Yeah, I don't know where Elise is. I saw her today. She said she'd be on.
Okay.
So we could skip it for now.
Yep.
Or I could just go over it real quick with you guys if you want to see. Yeah, we are 88% spent, so we actually saved 12%. I'll talk a little bit more about the numbers when we discuss the upcoming budget. You know, Elise's not here, but I can tell you she hit the ground running. She's been fantastic. Jenny started this week or last week, so our business office is back up to full strength. They're both doing fantastic jobs. It's been awesome. We have the service contracts that we need to vote on for the contract districts. As we put it last time, the contract districts approved the budget, so we were really happy about that. I was a little afraid we'd lose a third of our budget, but it didn't. It worked out very well. We moved forward with paychecks. You guys approved paychecks, so we're basically passing documents back and forth to each other. But we're hoping that the first payroll in August will be through paychecks. So that should take a lot off their plate and should be really nice.
Great.
The buybacks are all done, so everybody got their money on the buybacks, and they're just working on the year-end closeout. So it's been fantastic.
Cool. Was there anything noteworthy in the budget at 88% this year? I mean, it kind of seems like it's
definitely underspent. Yeah. So
Yeah.
We saved, even I was just talking to Christian before you guys got on. We saved $500,000 basically, and if we throw in the floors, which was about another $100,000, it's still $436,000 that we see.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a big chunk. They had 1 year, the lights, as we talked about, the lights weren't on, the heat wasn't on in here.
Yeah.
A couple other things worked out really well. A lot of long-term employees who were making really the shiny nickel had retired over the last year, so we were able to replace them with entry-level people, and in one case with a part-timer instead of a full-timer. So a lot of that stuff just hit really well, and it just marked for a great thing for us to be able to buffer this COVID. And not to segue into that, but it would be this week that we would need to send out the legals into the paper if we were going to do the budget vote. So one of the things I was going to ask you guys is that we just go ahead and do a 0% increase for this year as a good faith. We had tabled it back in, I think it was May. We wanted to see how the economy was going to recover and how people's jobs and stuff. We didn't want to take it off the table. We had felt at that point that if things had stayed the same, we would go for the 0, but we wanted to see, you know, if Fauci came up with the vaccine and everything got really back to really running around in July, we could have gone ahead with the budget vote. You know, taking a kind of peek around, it seems that we're in worse shape now as a country, not New York. New York seems doing okay. So it seems to make sense to me to not increase the budget, and we can PR it as us, you know, being concerned about our community, and the fact that the budget, the 1.8% would have been about $60,000, and we're walking away with an extra $400,000. You know, I think we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Tom, would you say that out of that 12%, is that all because of the coronavirus, or were there some other stuff that was going to put us ahead anyway?
No, I think like the retirees of some of the long-term employees definitely helped out. The coronavirus definitely had a big chunk to do with it. You know, we weren't hiring programmers anymore. The building was shut down. The lights were off. We weren't turning on the heat. We didn't have to call in extra staff because somebody called out sick. So all that kind of stuff snowballed. But there were things like the long-term employees leaving that had nothing to do with the coronavirus that helped us out. We were going to see a big savings in payroll anyway. We knew we were going to save at least about $100,000 on payroll, just from Mr. Konoski and Linda Gavin leaving, and Suzanne. Those are 3 people who are here for a very long time, and you know.
Right.
Yeah.
How will this affect next year's budget?
Well, the one we're in now, or the one for next July?
one for next July in terms of what we're talking in terms.
Well, it's the best way to think about it, and then Joe, he summed it up perfectly a couple of meetings ago, kind of puts us behind because it compounds. So now if we don't go for the 1.8%, next year's cap is not going to include that 1.8, but we're going to be a little bit behind. So theoretically, we're always going to be a little bit behind of where we would have been. However, given that we have over $400,000 left of this year, and that number might change a little bit when Al comes in and does his September thing, but roughly we saved a couple $100,000. That's going to offset anything anytime anyway. So for the most part, it's not going to really affect us. The bottom line is still that we still have all this extra money, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Hey, there's Elise.
Hi, Elise. Elise, do you have anything you'd like to add? We're in the financial reports portion.
I'm not sure if she can hear us.
I don't know if she can either.
Yeah.
Elise, can you hear us? Oh, hi.
Finally got the audio to work. I'm so sorry. That was my exclamation of surprise. I'm fully with you now.
Okay.
Apologies.
I just went over the financials. I can't think of anything else to add. I just kind of went over how we saved 12%. We're underspent 12%. That we went with paychecks. Jenny started last week, and then you guys are doing awesome. That's basically what I said.
Aw, thank you. Okay. Yeah, no, full steam ahead.
Great. Let's see. What are we up to, Tom?
So we can make the motion to accept all financial warrants as presented if everybody had a chance to look over all the warrants and payroll and all that stuff.
Is everybody good with that, making that motion?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so motion to accept the financial warrants as presented.
So moved.
All in favor? Up, second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We saw in the packet that that Tom and ComSwag has sent out the joint contracts to Mount Sinai and Miller Place. Does anybody have any questions on those items? No. Okay, so we could do that motion, right? I'm just looking.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that motion as well. So this is a motion to accept the ComSwag Port Jefferson Library Service Joint Contract 2020. Hold on, I gotta make the screen bigger so I can read the whole thing. 2020-21 for service to Miller Place, along with the ComSwag Port Jefferson Library Services Joint Contract 2020-2021 for service to Mount Sinai. That's a motion.
So moved. Second.
Second. Thank you.
Favor.
All right, good.
All right.
Aye. Great. Okay.
Tom, those represent about 35 or 40% of our total budget,
About a
don't
third
they?
of our budget. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah, we were on pins and needles back in May because we weren't sure how the schools were going to hold the vote. And, as everything went absentee ballot, as we all know, we usually, especially us, people who come in to vote are people who generally like your library or the school. So sending out a ballot to everybody, there's a good chance that there were going to be a lot more no's. But the library budgets in both contract districts passed higher than the school budget itself. So that's pretty impressive.
Tom,
and
how the two districts responded to the pickup situation?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Yeah. So we have a table full of stuff, and the contract districts are just happy that stuff's coming back out. We met us, ComSwag, and a couple other libraries who have contract districts. We met with SCLS back in June to discuss what we do with contracts. We kind of kept it on the wraps, but I can tell you guys now, since we passed it, unlike our budget, which is basically it's a budget in perpetuity. So like what I'm going to ask you guys to approve to go for zero budget, we don't have to have a budget vote if we don't change the amount. So when we do our budget vote, we go for 0%. We don't need to have a vote in September to do it, which is great. 0%, we don't need to have a vote. We go. Contract districts are year by year. When those contracts expire and there's nothing in place to replace them, we're screwed. So we were worried, one, that they couldn't have the budget vote and then they wouldn't be able to vote on it. Then we'd be screwed. And then two, it would go down. So we SCLS on our behalf talked with Albany about what to do about this. So Albany was working on having something in place if they couldn't have the budget vote. So contract districts are not in perpetuity. They expire June 30th, and unless the school had a passed budget vote for us, we would, come July 1st, we would have lost Miller Place and Mount Sinai. Luckily, none of that happened. I didn't want to worry you guys, so all of us decided as directors not to tell our boards until it passed. So I'm telling you now, it was close. There wasn't legal background for us to be able to get that money if the school couldn't have the budget vote. But I know Albany was working on it, whether they were able to come with something, but it's a moot point because they were able to hold the budget votes and it all passed. So,
Tom,
yeah.
there aren't many libraries that have contract districts, am I right?
No, there's 5 of us, I believe,
In the state
on Long
or in
Island.
the system?
Yeah, in the system.
There's 5 in the system.
I don't think there's any upstate because it's a unique situation having a contract where, upstate there's smaller libraries, but they span 200-300 miles. So there wouldn't be an area that would be serviced by 2 libraries, I wouldn't believe.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So it's just the outcropping of how the school districts were drawn in Suffolk County.
Yeah, and what's the current percent of those residents that are with Port Jeff?
We're about 35%. I think a little more in Mill Place. Mill Place seems to like us more than Gomswag. I think they're at like 36, and I think Mount Sinai is at 34. So we have about a third. It's interesting. We have about a third of the population, and we get about a third of our budget from there. Even though those numbers are completely independent, they seem to line up for this. But yeah, so we were in 2015 when I first took over, we were in the upper 20s. We've got it up about 5%, which is nice.
Right. Okay. Great. All right. So we did that motion, right? That's over.
Yep.
All right. So now, Tom, we're up to you on your report.
Okay. Yep. So the first thing, and it'd be nice and simple. Peggy Meehan is retiring. She took a look in the mirror and said, "Yeah, it's not worth coming back to work." She was a sub anyway, but she said it just wasn't worth it coming back. She loved working here. We all know her husband. They're great people. They're fantastic, but she just doesn't want to take the risk anymore. So you guys need to accept her resignation. Then my next big one, and I hope you guys like this. I want to bring everybody back starting August 3rd, opening up the library again. Full hours, full staff. I think we're ready to go. We have a couple things we got left to do, but I think we're ready for it. And I'm going to ask that we just go. I was thinking with going, 9 to 4, 9 to 5, that kind of thing. The logistics was kind of a nightmare because then what do you do with the people who work the nights? You can't really make them use their benefit time because we're not open during their shift, and a lot of them work during the day, so they couldn't. So it got really messed up that way. So we figure we're going to go 100% in. We're going to go from curbside to 100% operation on next Monday, if that works for everybody. So that'll be 100% staff back with us having social distancing in place. There'll be signs up. The staff will have to wear masks at all time unless they're in their office by themselves. So if Elise is in her office and nobody else is there, obviously she can take her mask off. If Val's in her office, but if anybody's out on the floor or they're working a public service desk, they have to wear masks. Same with the public. Per Cuomo's executive order, I think it's 220-something or other. Everybody who comes in the building has to wear a mask. If they don't wear a mask, we're going to have to kindly ask them to leave. If they cite that they have an ADA rule or some issue, which is according to the ADA, there is no disability that would prevent somebody from wearing a mask. We will ask them to stand outside and we'll go get them the materials that they want. And if they want to make a real case, we'll just call the constables.
Tom, you said that you had a document that was going out to staff in regards to those guidelines.
Yes. Yep.
Can you send that to us too?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Of course. I'll scan it in tonight. Actually, I have it in my email.
Okay.
At least put it together for us.
Yeah, just so we're familiar.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah.
Hold on, Joel. Tom, do you anticipate any opposition from any staff in regards to returning?
I can see a couple of people who I've heard through the grapevine are hesitant. But we got to go by the rules. So there's been expanded coverage for family leave. So I'm just going to pick Erin because she has a son. If for some reason she can't find caregivers because her son was supposed to be in school now, this obviously wouldn't work in the summer, but say September the school's open, we have to give her 2 weeks to find some situation. If somebody is medically at risk, if they have a compromised immune system, they just need a doctor's note, and then they get 2 weeks off, and then they have to start using benefit time. The state and the county is asking us to find ways to let these people work from home if we can. So we do have a couple of people at risk that we feel we can get them to work from home. Steve, the purchasing agent, he does a lot of his stuff on the computer. 99% of his job can be done from home. So we're going to go ahead. He's got to go get the doctor's note, but we'll go ahead and allow him to work from home. Same thing with Val. We don't want Val getting the virus and bringing it back home to her husband. So if she can work from home, we'll do those kind of things. On the downside, if we can't find a reason to have a person work from home or their job title doesn't translate to working from home, circulation clerks or the library aides, you can't really have anybody putting a book on a shelf from their living room. It doesn't work out that way. So we'll try to find something, some way where they're not at risk, but at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that they're performing their duties for the library.
Tom?
Yeah.
Will the public have full access to all facilities?
They will not. They won't have access to anything downstairs. We're closing off the downstairs completely. There'll be no programs, so no program rooms. We've removed all tables and chairs, so no loitering, no reading the paper, no reading the magazine. They're basically in there to grab their materials and leave. We're going to have 3 or 4 laptops. Those Chromebooks that we bought, we're going to have them set up by reference. We'll rotate 3 at a time, so if somebody wants it, they can check it out, sit by reference and use it. It comes back in. It goes to the custodians to get wiped down, and then Sam can hang out another one. But there's definitely going to be limited access. The front,
So there'll be no program downstairs in the.
no programs. Yep.
Okay.
As of right now, that's the last thing. They were calling it stage 5. We haven't hit yet. The state asked to have no inside programs for libraries. That makes sense to me.
People allowed to come in and print if they need to print.
Yep. They'll be able to print to the printer. They'll be able to use the copiers. And I think it came up at one of our COVID response meetings to get remote printing. So that's something we're still working on too. I was waiting for the new computer guy to start. So we get one of those, prints to web services where they can send it to a website and it'll come out our printer. And we can handle it like we do with the books. We can put it in a bag with their name on it and say, it's on the table, come pick it up.
Will you
Now,
space?
Tom, can I ask it a question? This is
Sure.
Nicole. So if anyone, just because I'm starting to hear from like different school districts, some of them are going with a hybrid model. Is
Yep.
there an opportunity for people to adjust their hours if they need to?
As long as it meets the library needs, because we talked about this. We don't have flex time here, but it's something that we've been working on. But
Okay.
as long as we have coverage, sure. But I can't have everybody from Cirque not come in 9 to 5. Yeah,
Right, right.
Once we have coverage, and we'll work with everybody.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's it's not something that it's we don't want to force anybody to come back if they're at risk. We also realize that it's 20% unemployment right now. A lot of people get their health insurance to the library, so to force the situation doesn't make much sense. And we always have, luckily, in the contract, there is a stipulation that I can give leave without pay. So in a dire situation where somebody's really back against the wall, they have no benefit time, but they're at risk and they're very much afraid, I can say, hey, take the next 2 months off. You won't get paid, but you'll still have your job. I can give them up to a year. So that's our nuclear option before, saying, I'm sorry, you don't have a job anymore. So that's I'm quite willing to stretch that as much as possible to help out our staff. As long as we have coverage. And I do
Cool.
believe too that the numbers of people coming in are going to be slower, so we could probably operate with a less staff in the building.
Are you going to space out the number of people allowed in at any given time?
Yeah, we're
And
going to
two-
suggest. Yeah,
And 2, are you going to kick people out after, say, 20 minutes?
we're gonna suggest 30 minutes. I'm not
Okay,
gonna hard
yeah,
limit
okay.
it. Yeah. I'm not going to be a jerk about it though, because one guy comes in at 10:30 and nobody's in the building for the next 2 hours. I'm not going to ask them to leave.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry, you guys froze on me for a second. What was 30 minutes?
30 minutes for a time to be in the building. We're going to suggest a 30-minute time in the building. But again, I'm not going to hold true and fast to it. If somebody comes in and there's all of 2 people down in the stacks and one's in nonfiction and one's in mysteries, there's no point in asking them to leave if we have nobody else in the building. Same with the computers. We're going to ask them to, half hour, 45 minutes. But if they're the only person here using a computer, they could stay on it for a couple hours, But we
Have
did.
somebody outside to control the number coming in.
We're going to have security. We're going to ask one of our security guards to come in and work during the day, which I think will also be helpful if we have a militant non-masker, is the best way to put it. If somebody doesn't want to wear a mask, we'll have security to handle that, or we'll call the constables. Yeah.
How's it going with the staff and coming in and getting their temperatures?
Oh, you froze. I'll wait till you come back.
It sounded like she was going with temperatures.
Okay. Yeah. So we bought an app that everybody who comes into the building staff have to fill out every day. And if they don't want to use the app, because some people didn't want to do it because they thought they were being tracked, not being tracked, they have to fill out a piece of paper. One, we don't take their temperatures. We take their word for it. Some libraries are taking temperatures, but in speaking with our lawyer and speaking to other directors, technically taking somebody's temperature is a medical exam. So we don't really want to get into all that kind of stuff. And we're going to take people's words on it. We're just stressing to the staff that if you do have these symptoms, don't risk your fellow staff members. Stay home. It'll be okay. Especially right now because we're still paying everybody. So you got a fever, go home right now because you're still going to get paid and you don't have to use time because we're still paying the entire staff. So, but when everybody comes back, they have to fill it out every day. And actually, we've had three episodes where it was flagged. Only one was a real situation. One was one of our security guards was down in Washington, D.C. And one of the questions is, have you been in an area where COVID is? And so he answered yes. So I had to call him up and say, Ashton, you don't have to fill out the app if you're coming into work. I don't need to know that you're in Washington, D.C. One person forgot to answer one of the questions, so that got flagged. And then one person, her daughter works at a hospital. She tested positive for it. She lived with her daughter, so we had to tell her to isolate for 2 weeks. And then she couldn't come back until she tested negative. So she tested negative yesterday. She was back in today.
But so far, so good with everybody being compliant with that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Everybody's been fine. They've been fantastic.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Good.
So
Hey, hey guys.
Hey,
I
John.
got here a couple minutes ago. I've been staying quiet though. Kristen, keep going, running the meeting. My question, it's a quick one. What's our liability if, as far as somebody coming in, testing positive, getting other people sick? Do we have legal liability on this?
That is up in the air. I'm waiting to hear back. And I hear that actually Congress is talking about indemnifying work right now, and nobody seems to know. I've gotten some emails from Seaman and some emails from other directors. They're not quite sure. I don't think we could be held responsible if we didn't know. Let's say Erin got it and she did tell me, and I said, "Oh no, you have to come to work." Yes, then I could see the library being liable. But if somebody comes in, doesn't tell us, or they don't know, there's no real way for us to be able to proactively, stop that risk from happening if we don't know about it. That seems to be the understanding that I'm hearing, that if we don't know, we can't do it. If we obviously mandate people come in, even if they have symptoms, then yes, we could be liable. But if somebody comes in and fills out that questionnaire, and that's what we were doing, one of those questions is answered yes, they have to go right back home. They got to leave the building immediately. So in this,
I know that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know that school districts are very concerned with the state not indemnifying, if that's the right word.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that, like right now, every school district is open to, to have to foot their own bill for litigation and or damages if they were to get sued by members of their district. So I think we really have to, dot our I's and cross our T's on that one.
Okay.
Just to take a look at that, because I know that, if the state doesn't do the right thing, schools aren't going to open.
Right.
Because you can't hold the taxpayers, responsible to pay out any lawsuits.
Right.
So let's make sure before we open the doors, that we have an answer for that.
Okay. I'll email Steven again.
Okay. All right, Tom, do you have anything? Let's see. Well, you just did a good COVID update, so now we'll move officially to unfinished business. You want to talk about the architect update?
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to ask you guys to pay the last payment to BBS. As you know, we've gone back and forth, and we've paid them their first installment, which was the $12,500, I believe. And the way the contract was written was that they were going to get a percentage of the finalized project. So right before COVID all hit, I'd met with Kevin and gone over some things, and he said, "Hey, he's like, we were looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars from your project. He's like, I totally understand what's going on." He's like, "But also we have done some work that was supposed to be part of phase 2, trying to appease the village, because we all know how the village made us jump through hoops." So I sat down with him and he broke down the numbers with me. The original number, he said, if we win the contract, I forget how much it was, but it was upwards of $600,000-$700,000. He said, but that doesn't seem very reasonable to him. And then he said, if he just billed us for the work done with the paying the employees and the work that was done for phase 2, that would come in a little over $100,000. So, but he said, look, he's like, we want to partner with you guys. I know that you're looking to do something with the house. I see work for us in the future. He's like, why don't we just do this? He's like, can I just bill you for the amount of hours that our workers put in, not for actually the work did? That came out to $40,000. So the building committee met. We had talked about it. We had talked to Fowler Fritz, our lawyers, about it. And they basically said, one, it's not really a legal question. As Joe put it succinctly, it's a business question, because we're breaking the contract. So as long as BBS is clear that this payment means that we're breaking the contract, it seems very reasonable to pay their staff the hours they worked on our project. And then we also have a nice partner going forward to help us with the Bayless House when we start moving forward on that as well. So I'm going to ask you guys to approve that check to be paid this month. Anybody have any questions? Okay. The next one, we talked about the budget briefly. I'm going to ask that instead of pushing for the 1.81%, which is about 60,000, since we are underspent almost $500,000, a little over $500,000, that we take that savings and we use it and we go for a zero budget increase because the legal thing would have to be in the paper for this week if we were going to have the vote in September. And then the last thing is we had met with Val Fritz to about the merging of properties, and they were emphatic that it would be in our best interest not to merge the properties right now, to hold off until we have a coherent plan on what we want to do with them. So we're gonna hold off on merging those properties.
Does not merging make us vulnerable to a takeover by someone?
Not at all. They didn't seem to think so at all. They just said, if we as a private library, we are under no obligation, no matter what the PR movement is in the village, to sell it. The second thing, and we brought this up, if say somebody starts stacking the board with people on Thomas Street who want to sell the property, if they did that, and even if we merge the property, they could go ahead and unmerge it. So it doesn't stop them from doing that at all. It doesn't really add anything to us. The only thing it does by merging the properties is kind of handcuff us. If down the road, say the finances of the library are in a good shape, or we decide, we just don't need this property. If we merge it, we'd have to jump the hoops then to unmerge it. And if the village is giving us a headache now, we foresee them giving a headache down the road as well. So they said right now, and until we have a coherent plan that we want to do, hold off on merging it until we know our next steps.
All right.
Yeah. Seemed to make sense.
At the end of the day, it's still deeded in the library's name, so it's library property.
Yep.
Right.
And we bought it outright. There's no mortgage on it. We don't owe any money on it.
Yep.
It's ours.
What speaking of money and owing money, anything come with the teen center over the last couple months? We've just been paying them rent like normal.
Yep. Yeah, we I think it's up in October. I got to look over that paperwork this week to see. But yeah.
And that remains closed even after you open the building, or what's the deal there?
I talked with Erin today about that. It looks like we can get a handful of teens in there, and she wants to do it. We're going to try it on a trial basis, but she did say too, and laughing because there's not that many seats and there's not the computers, and we took down the gaming system, that most likely they're not going to stay, especially in the summer, they're not going to stay too long in the teen center. So we're going to do a trial opening.
Our lease is up in October there?
I believe so, yeah. I believe we
No
renewed it
gaming
eventually.
for the teens.
Where what?
No gaming for the teens.
No gaming for the teens, yep. Yeah. We can't
Yeah.
guarantee the sanitizing of the controllers and all that stuff. So.
What do you want to do in October then?
I don't think we'll be ready to move the teens anywhere. Unless, what are we in? We're not coming on to August. Even if we got the Bayless House, fixed up, or we got a plans in place, it wouldn't be done by October.
So we should start thinking about, strategy for what we want to do with that lease. Whether we renew it, we don't renew it. If we do renew it, do we do the same term? Do we do a shorter term?
Right.
Do we do something like a year with 1-year extensions, whatever?
Yeah.
Right. But if we have plans to develop Bayless House, and because of COVID, we're not going to be using that property, then we should really think hard what to do there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like the 1-year lease is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, I don't think that there's anything that we can do. We can't anticipate anything at this point. So,
Right.
I mean, we're on a holding pattern. We should maybe talk to that landlord and get as favorable conditions for the lease or holding on renting to continue rent the property as we can. And they should work with us. We've been very good tenants.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
If you have a copy of that lease, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Yep. I'll dig it out.
Okay. What do we got, Tom? Does anybody have any questions on the budget? Did John might have missed your idea there?
John, you have any questions about going with a zero budget? Did we do that?
No, I don't have any, I can, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions about going with a zero budget. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? We mentioned it in the beginning. Want to make sure we're good here. Okay. Is that something we vote on now then, Tom, tonight?
Yeah. I'm done. That's all my stuff. So we can vote on all the motions.
All right. So let's do the Peggy Meehan motion now. We'll do that one. So this is a motion to accept the June 15th resignation of substitute library aide Peggy Meehan.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Very good. All in favor?
I,
aye.
Okay, great. So Val, I need to give a motion on the budget. And I need some wording.
Oh, for the budget?
Yeah,
Say, motion to adopt a 0% increase for the 2020-2021 library budget. How's that?
oh, I like that. All right, motion to adopt a 0% increase for the 2020-2021 Port Jefferson free library budget.
Very
So
moved.
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 Okay.
Second.
So, in case somebody's wondering, Sawyer is also in favor of that. In case anybody's wondering what's going on over here. All right, all in favor on the budget there?
I,
Aye.
Great.
I think that's really great too for public perception,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
given these uncertain times.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about the, an August meeting?
Yeah, I think right now we have, I think it's August 17th that everybody voted on to meet. So it's on the calendar for now, unless you guys don't feel we need to. But we could play that by ear. So I think the best way to go is to keep it on the calendar and plan on meeting unless we have nothing to talk about, which I
If something
assume that we
comes up,
will.
If something comes up, we can always show up. You can let us
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we could move it if people are away or whatever too. So
We probably should keep it just because of reopening to the public. There's probably going to be some stuff that we might want to go over.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I concur. I think we keep it on the calendar, and if it comes close and there isn't anything to report, we can always delay it until September.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else? Right, we don't need executive session. Any
Nope.
other comments from anybody?
we got to make a motion for the BBS payment.
Okay.
And then do you want to do the motion to reopen next Monday pending lawyer's input? That way the motion's there. And if he comes back and says, no, you're fine, you guys don't have to meet this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I'm scrolling. All right. Sounds like some Grossman kids. John,
You know it. I just sent you a text, Christian.
I know.
If you're looking
Is
for
that-
wording.
is that-
I sent you the agenda.
Okay. I don't know why I don't have. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spot. I have the PDF open, but okay. Sorry. So it's hard to scroll back and forth, but I have it now. So
Okay.
all right, we did that. Motion to do we need to do the motion to amend the
Yeah, the previously adopted.
okay.
Yep. And I would say just add on to that pending input from lawyer.
Okay. So this is a motion to amend the motion previously adopted at the special meeting on March 13th, 2020 regarding emergency pay, and beginning August 1st, 2020, the library will discontinue emergency pay pending, what was that?
Pending input from lawyer.
Okay, pending input from lawyer.
So moved.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. And next is, this is the motion to pay the BBS Architecture 40,000 US dollars as the final payment of monies due for past services rendered.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this is my favorite of the evening. This is the motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay,
second.
excellent. Excellent. All right, so then I